Hi, it's Chief Misc and welcome to the second edition of Chief Chat. This is going to be a long one. I asked for questions, I got questions. I asked for comments, I got comments. The listening sessions, we've had 4 of them. You guys, this is what I like about Bowie. Very interactive, very opinionated, will tell you exactly what's on their mind. So this is going to be a long one, so if you need to go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, do it now. I'll wait. Back? Alright, here we go. So, one of the biggest things I've heard in the listening sessions is about police presence. We don't see the officers enough, we want to see them more in the community, driving around, we want to see them on patrol. So what I thought I'd do, I would share with you our organizational chart. Alright? This gives you an exact idea of who we are, and where we stand. So we are slotted for 67 people. So you may think, oh, that's 67 people, we're tripping on each other. Let's break that 67 down. So, 67 people. I need someone to run the railroad, right? So I need my command staff. Myself, deputy chief, captain, then I've got lieutenants. I got operations support, who runs training, the call center, the admin side of things, and records. I've got my commander of investigative services. They're in charge of community services, criminal investigations, the criminal analysis, and our task force officer. Then I have 2 lieutenants who are in charge of patrol. They each are assigned 1 squad each. Alright, so let's start breaking numbers down. Training. Training is super important. Why is it important? Because it keeps our officers safe and in one piece, and it reduces our liability and makes sure that we're up to date policies, procedures, and best practices. So I've got 2 here. I know it's a little small, so bear with me. Call centers, all civilians. Records. I have 1 sergeant in charge of records, and I have 1 officer inside of records as well. Why? Because we are in charge of maintaining our records. There's certain things that only sworn can do. We have an RMS system that we need to, a records management system, that we need to clear things out. We need to do validations. It requires a sworn presence up there. I also have an admin sergeant. What's my admin sergeant do? My admin sergeant is in control and oversees policies, oversees the administrative side of things. We are about to be CALIA certified. We go for our certification this year. That means all of our policies have been checked. There's proofs. So if someone says, it says you do this in your policy, we must have a written proof that shows that that is what we are doing, that we are following our own policies. Again, liability issues. So I've got an admin sergeant. I've got an IT liaison who is a sworn officer, taking care of our in-car cameras, any other tech issues that we might be having, and liaisons between the city's IT department and ourselves. Not to say that's the only thing he does. He also goes on the street, backfills for patrols, things like that. Alright, so now we get on this side. I'm going to flip sides here. I've got investigative services. I've got 5 people assigned to that, 4 detectives and a sergeant. They do all the investigations, our detectives. Community services, I have 7 in there. 7's a lot, but I also have 2 of those that are assigned to the school, 1 at the annex, 1 at the high school. That leaves 5 of them in there. What are they doing? They're doing all the proactive stuff that we're well known for. They're going to the HOA meetings, they're running all the events. They're doing all the outreach, the public outreach, the way that we can build trust and relationships with our community. Those are the frontline people for those. Talked about our investigative section. Crime analyst is sworn. I also have 1 person assigned to the Marshal's task force. Why did we decide to remove a body and put him on a task force? Well, the deciding factor in that was they are assigned to primarily cases operated in Bowie. So far, 90% of the bad guys that they've tracked down on this Marshal's task force have committed crimes or involved or have some kind of tacit connection to Bowie. So we are seeing some dividends come back on that choice. So what does that leave us over here? That leaves us with our patrol strength, right? I don't know why I drew a squiggly, but whatever. So that leaves us, if I do my math right, 41 people in patrol. Okay, 41 out of 67 are assigned to patrol. Forgive me if I wander out of the frame real quick, but 41 out of our 67. Okay, still a pretty decent number, right? Hold on a second. I've got 2 openings at the present time that we're looking to fill in the academy. Okay, I also have 2 that are currently in the academy. I don't know if you can read this or not, but trust me, it's there. 2 openings, 2 in the academy. I also have 3 people that are currently on light duty due to injury. That puts me 7 down. 7 out of that 41. All right, so that's 44, 30, 33 people I can pull for 24-hour coverage. Number's not so good now, all right, not as good. 33 that I can pull from. Out of that, people still have vacation time, people have training. There are other things that might pull them. So this number is sometimes tough. And I'm not saying this to make excuses. I'm not saying this to try to pass the buck or not take responsibility. I'm giving this information because that's what it is. Information is what we're dealing with. The absolute truth of things, and I'm about telling you the truth, absolute truth of things is we don't have the bodies for nook and cranny policing right now. We do a great job and we're out there. You may not see us, but we're out there. The issue is also a matter of timing. Some folks, I don't know if you may sit on your porch for 24 hours a day waiting for us to drive by. But sometimes you've got folks that go to work, they get in their car, come back in the house for a little bit, they run errands. That's a very small window for us to be seen driving through the neighborhood. And again, I'm not saying that we may miss a street, but it's also saying that there are chances that we're coming by and you don't see us. Actually, I had someone stop at a conversation last night at one of the listening sessions. Says, yeah, I saw you on my Ring camera as you drove by. So we are out there. One of the other questions that I received is, how do we patrol the neighborhoods? Each one of the officers is assigned a beat. I've been told to move left. Each one of us is assigned a beat. They're assigned to that beat. That is their primary area to patrol. Now again, 2-man call, 2-person call. I've got to leave that beat and go assist the other officer in their beat with a call. So they're not always in that area. So this being said, we talk about presence. One of the things that we also heard is, I see an officer sitting in the parking lot. Okay. They work 12-hour shifts. I can't feasibly expect someone to drive 12 hours constant. What I will say is, well, sometimes they're eating lunch in the car, they're eating their dinner in the car, they're typing out a report on their computer. I would rather have them eating lunch out there in the community or typing out there where people can at least see them than hold up in the office or in the station. So, you know, they're just like anybody else. They need to take a break, they need to take a breather. They're going to land in a parking lot sometimes. You may see 2 cars facing each other sideways talking. They could be talking about a call, they could be talking about a report that they're trying to knock out, or they could be taking a couple minutes just to catch up on a couple different things. So yeah, you are going to see them time to time parked and stationary. So one of the other things that, the questions that I got was, they had read back in 2018 that we were fully staffed. And what's going on now? Well, we have 2 openings. And I will say this with all candidness, I've been fully staffed once while I was here, and it was the best 3 months of my entire life. It's just the nature of police work. You're going to lose someone to another job, someone might leave for whatever reason, they might be asked to leave, who knows. But we are constantly looking to hire, we are constantly looking to improve folks and get these slots filled. One of the things, the other question was about how are we going to build the police department as we continue to have development in the city. I've had that conversation with both council people, with the city manager, and there's two trains of thought. If you go by the Department of Justice numbers, which is usually 1.5 officers for every 1,000 residents, that puts us somewhere in the 88 number. We have 67, so that's a pretty big gap, isn't it? But the other piece of this is we're not that old. We just got here in 2006. We did a lot of growing very, very quickly. So we're taking a breather to let finances settle. And when you talk about finances, there's what we should have according to the DOJ and what we can actually afford and what the city can actually afford and what you, the taxpayers, can actually afford. So the trick is finding that balance on what we should have or ideally would have and what we can afford, and making those numbers work and doing the very best that we can. Because at the end of the job, end of the day, it's my job to do the very best that we can with the resources that we're provided. So that's a little bit about staffing. A couple other things that are, I'm looking down versus looking up and around, because that was one of the comments that I got last time. It's like, stop looking around, so it's all going much. So one of the things, I'm just going to take them out of complete random order. We had a concern about a fight that happened or that stemmed from Tasker Middle School. The students had gone off site. There was a parent involved. It hit social media. We jumped on it immediately, did our interviews, did our investigation. The children were charged, the parent was charged, and hopefully that's going to put that to bed. Some mediation was done between the students to hopefully quell any kind of lingering resentment or animosity. Theft from autos. Again, we've got the lock it or lose it. We're about flat right now compared to last year, and we're looking to keep driving that number down. That doesn't mean that won't happen again, but we're looking to get some statistical decreases as we move through the year. We're still very early in the year. We have had a couple arrests from theft from auto, so we're tracking those. We're trying to do the best we can as far as enforcement goes. One of the things that you talk about, we don't see as much. Well, sometimes when we're doing the theft from auto stuff, we're in unmarked cars because we are trying to be a little less obvious and try to catch some of these guys in the act. We talk about speed enforcement. If you looked at the listening sessions, or if you were in the listening sessions, one of the things that you heard about was speeding, and oh yeah, speeding. So we do have a concerted effort on speeding. Now, on the flip side of that, I got a question about, should we be spending all this time on speeding when we've got the theft from autos as well? Well, we are pushing the theft from auto, but we can't do it to the detriment of everything else. We can't just stop everything and focus just on one thing. We still have other obligations we need to take care of. So speed enforcement is a common theme. It's a complaint that we hear from residents and citizens all the time. So the way we try to target is we take the information that we get from the residents, we enter that in, we keep track of it, and then we put them in a rotation. So if you've got Stony Brook, I'll just throw that as an example. I want you on Stony Brook. Okay, we'll put it on a rotation. So we can't say, okay, we're going to pack a lunch and camp there for days and days. But we do include it on our rotation as we hit other spots. And what we try to do is, I don't always measure traffic enforcement by citation numbers. I measure it by effort. So if we're there for 2 hours and we get 4 citations, that's what we track. The speed enforcement wasn't 4 citations. The speed enforcement or traffic enforcement was 2 hours. So that's the way we try to look at it. We try to track it so that we can ask or follow up if someone asks, hey, what'd you do with my complaint? Here's what we did. We're out there for 2 hours. Here's what we found. Talked about speed cameras. People want more speed cameras. Well, there's a caveat to that. Speed cameras have to be within a half mile of a school. And they have to be in that half mile of an active zone for that school. So in other words, you're a half mile, but I can't be 7 streets away where there's no active component to that school. So we just entered into a new speed contract with the same company that's been doing a great job for us. We're looking at moving some things around. Just to give you some background, we have 14 cans. Cans are the actual containers that the cameras come in. And then we have 8 cameras. And those 8 cameras rotate through those can sites, because it wouldn't be fiscally responsible for us to have 14 cameras. the volume of the citations are not high enough to warrant the cost of those cameras. So we have 8 cameras, we put them through 14 sites. We are looking at moving a couple sites, maybe one onto Tulip Grove. We're in talks to see how that's going to work out. Behavior and fighting at the library. This has been a constant thing since I got here in 2006. It's gotten better, believe it or not. We don't have as many incidents. We're still going to have some incidents. Whenever you put all those kids in one spot, there's going to be some issues from time to time. The problem with it is it's attached right to the school. So you got kids that, don't go to school, but they go hang out in the library, or they don't go home, but they hang out in the library. The library we've worked with, they've tried some programs or tried different things to engage those young people. If you want to be here and do something productive, or just don't create a disturbance. But that traditionally, and I don't mean to cast bad things on people, but I would imagine some of you people listening to this went to Bowie High School and maybe cut through that fence time to time in between not going to class. Bethany behind the camera is kind of shaking her head like, yeah, well maybe I did that as well. But I won't go any further on that. But it's been a problem for a long time. Some of the drug activity, we are seeing some folks that like to smoke some marijuana from time to time. Some of them in less conspicuous places than others. We do have some saturation patrols that target those folks, and I will say that we've made some arrests very recently in some of those areas. But again, you have to look at, you've got medical cannabis now. You've got the decriminalization of marijuana. What does that mean? That means it's no longer a crime to possess certain amounts. It's a civil citation. Well, a lot of people don't pay attention to that. They hear decrim, they think it's legal now, and it's not. But that kind of removes the stigma of it, so we are seeing some increase in simple possession and simple use that we've been trying to deal with. One of the things I also heard about was panhandlers. There's not a lot, but there's enough. There's probably 4 or 5 key panhandlers that come around. Most notably, there's a gentleman that goes on Harbor over by the Exxon. I won't say his name, even though I have it engraved in my memory. We have written this person 22 to 25 citations, $50 a pop. He pays them, and he comes back, and he actually told us, man, I make $300 a day here. That's just gas money. $300 a day. So one of the things is that I'm not trying to sound callous, I'm not trying to sound cold or indifferent to the plight of other people, but if you make $300 a day, they're going to keep coming back. If we keep giving them that much money, they're going to keep coming back. So I would say be judicious when offering aid and assistance, and we'll keep working. In the meantime, we work with the shopping centers, with the management companies to try to get people barred from their areas, and it's something that's a continuous problem that we will try to stay on top of. Crime statistics, we had a question about crime stats, why we don't put them in the paper anymore. We put them weekly on our website, and there should be something coming out of Command Central that you will have an interactive link. I know we talked about this at the council update, but it should be coming here very, very soon. We just got our invitations to start to look at it, and we're kind of in the beta testing. We're making sure all the data is correct, everything flows the way it should. So I would think within 2 to 3 months tops, we will be able to give you that, and you'll be able to search geographically for crime data. So the other thing that we're talking about is, we already talked about theft from auto. City, what are we doing to combat excessive speeding and traffic violations? Again, we do have some traffic people that are just dedicated to that, and they go about different areas and rotating through various assignments. Why is there a lack of traffic enforcement on Church Road after that young man was hit and killed? Church Road, that part of Church Road is not ours. That is under the jurisdiction of the county police. It's not inside the city. Even though we just annexed the part where the ice arena is slotted to go, we come in from the back direction and stop at the curb line. So we have no enforcement power for traffic on that road. I do know that the county is putting a bill in to allow speed cameras and exception to the speed camera statute, and they're going to try to get that controlled that way. And I know that there's other things that they're looking at, task force or something for that area. What's the best way to contact me for matters within the city? If you go to the website, I have a direct link, and it goes right to my email. I'm also on Twitter, Chief Bowie PD. Feel free to call in. I'm always checking messages. Unfortunately, I'm always tied to this thing night and day. So feel free to email me, and I promise I will get back with you. How is the city moving forward to defend our constitutional rights considering all the situations in Virginia? Again, that is a state level question. What's happening in Virginia is happening in Virginia. If you're asking about civil liberties as far as Second Amendment, things like that, that is going to be a state issue that we're probably not going to dive too deeply into. I noticed recently a post regarding self-defense classes for women. Will it be classes regarding the same thing for men? There are classes for men. If you look at the same kind of RAD program that we do, the RAD program for men is much, much different. It's more about how to get out of a fight, not how to defend yourself. There is an aspect of what happens if you can't get out of the fight, but most of it is de-escalation. While that is a worthy thing, we just don't have the time. We are strapped trying to keep up with our RAD for women's classes, our self-defense classes for women, and statistically women are in much more need of it than men are. That we're not trying to be discriminatory or unfair. It's just a matter of resources and trying to use them in the best way to get to the population that needs it the most. Now that some speed humps along Bel Air have been around a bit, are you noticing improvements regarding speed? It's funny, it's like, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk. There's always something else to top on top of things. So the speed humps are up. Now you've got the wedge that the fire department asked for, the cut in the middle, so now the complaint we're getting is folks go across the double yellow to hit that center on their left side tires. So we're going to be watching that, but anecdotally we have seen the speeds drop down, but again, unintended consequences. We have some folks shifting lanes a little bit. I was having, again, the discussion with someone last night about that, and we'll be looking at that for some enforcement. I'd like to see more information regarding the constant door-to-door soliciting. I've had 2 incidents of people not leaving when I asked them and they had to call. Even though you have to have a permit, most people, I would say most people don't. The minute you get a solicitor that does not have a permit, call us and we will come out and make sure that they are who they're supposed to be and send them on their way. But again, one of the things that we try to keep an eye out for, but you got to call us when you see them. Even if they do have a permit, it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt to call us, and we will come out and make sure they do have that permit. I think what's the best way to get a concealed carry permit? That's going to be through the state of Maryland, MSP, Maryland State Police. They handle all those, and usually you need a justification for it. It can't be just because I want it. You have to have some kind of outside justification or need that you have to be able to prove to get it. The other part of that question, how do we defend ourselves or property from theft or harm? Again, you are allowed to defend yourself. You're not allowed to crack around at somebody who's trying to take something that belongs to you. It has to be in the defense of yourself or someone else to be justifiable and legal. I think that's it. I've covered a lot. One of the things that I do want to stop with is our trivia question winner from the first one was Eugene Maddox. He will be receiving this shiny gold coin, not chocolate, it's actually real metal. So congratulations, Mr. Maddox. Next question for next month is, we have a Citizens Academy beginning. What is the start date? You can find all that information on our webpage or our Facebook page or any of the page that you look at that's associated with us. It's on there someplace. So what is the beginning date of our next Citizens Academy? That's the next trivia question. The other thing is, sign up for the Citizens Academy when you're looking up the answer. It's a great program. It's very valuable. We love to have people come in. We love the conversation. We love the dialogue. Anyway, this was a long one. I appreciate all the feedback. If I missed something you want to know about, please reach out to me. You've got my email. It's jnesky@cityofbowie.org. Send it in through direct message on any of our social media sites. You can find me on Twitter, and we will pick it up next month. Take care, be safe, and lock it or lose it. Me again, I'm sorry I left something out. I know I talked forever, but I did leave something out, and something good. So I wanted to make sure I got it on there. We have been selected by the National Council for Home Safety and Security as the fifth safest city in Maryland. I'll read you the top 5. Ocean Pines, Havre de Grace, New Carrollton, Bel Air, and then us. And I'll read a snippet of what they said. Number 5, Bowie is much larger than the other top 5 entries, with a population near 60,000, yet managed to earn the state's second lowest violent crime rate, a very respectable 1.35 per 1,000 people. I'll read that again. Second lowest crime rate for violence in the state. So that is a testimony to the great work that the officers are out there doing, but it's also a testimony to the partnership that we share and the information sharing that we engage in, and I couldn't be happier, unless we're number 4, 3, 2, or 1. So again, have a good month, and I'll see you in 30 days.